We're not going to do a heap of footy. In fact, rarely, unless, excuse me, there's absolute need to. Now, for whatever reason, in the off-season, I was not paying attention to anything, right? That's what happens when you're on holidays. And then all of a sudden, there was a bombardment of news stories about the Essendon drug saga. And it turns out it was 10-year anniversary, so the Herald Sun dived into it. Fair enough. But what I got out of it was this reporting from Mark Robinson in this instance about you and your relationship with James Hird, and almost intimating that you were the one who stood in his way of going back to be the coach of the Essendon Football Club. What did you think when you read the article? Did any of it make sense? I'll read something for you. It said, James Hird and Tim Watson, David Evans, Mark Thompson, many of the Football Trust, forged on premierships played together. Hird and Watson don't speak. Hird put up his hand to coach Essendon. Watson was not a supporter. Tim doesn't believe the players goes there about Job and relationship, and then it quotes you. I think a lot of people drag back all those things. I have to say I'd be more than surprised if he ended up as the coach, intimating that you sort of ran a bit of a campaign, if nothing else. The backstory shows the truth of the ill feeling between the pair. I'm reading all this. I've seen you talk to James Hird over the journey. What?
I don't have any ill feeling towards James Hird. Absolutely none. None. And you and I know, we've spoken about it many times. I've been in his company a number of times, and we had a 1993 premiership lunch last year, and he was there.
Not if you read these stories. So what do you respond to these stories? You read those, you think that you and he have got this massive chasm between the two of you, and there's no chance you're going to talk ever again.
No, that's not true. That's not true. We don't have a relationship, though. We're not best mates. We're not best friends, and we were friendlier back in the day, but like this whole thing happened, and I've reached out to him, I've reached out to Bomber, and and I understand people are moving through this emotionally and mentally in their own time, in their own way, and I respect that. But I'd be only too happy to ever sit down and have a conversation with him. In fact, 1993 Premiership reunion will be this year.
Yeah.
There'll be a function. We'll cross paths. I hold no ill will towards James. And this is the most difficult thing, and you've been in this situation too, when you have become or have been a teammate of somebody, and then you have to make a comment around something that they might be doing because you now hold a position in the media and you've got to have an opinion on these things.
Yep.
My opinion about him being the next captain, the next coach of Essendon had nothing to do with whatever happened during that Asada period. Had nothing to do with that. I just didn't think that he was the right person for this time, and the club needed to move forward, which was as simple as that.
Did you feel that this article, again, it misrepresented you in terms of your relationship with him, and B, the role that you played or otherwise in James not being a candidate for the Essendon coaching job?
It did, and I rang the author of that, Mark Robinson. I spoke to him about that, about the fact that he intimated that I ran some sort of campaign behind the scenes. No, I didn't ring anybody and voice my opinion about it. I didn't ring David Barham, who is the chairman. I didn't say to him, David, you can't go and appoint James Hird. I had other people ringing me trying to campaign on James' behalf to him being the coach, and I said to them I didn't think it was the right thing, and they needed to run a process and find the best candidate, which they did, which I thought was the right thing to do. I mean, when you read that story about the fact that James and Sheeds and others were running this as a fait accompli, and that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to insert James as the coach. To me, as an Essendon person, I mean, the players and the fans deserve the best coach and the best candidate they could possibly find.
So you answered a question on our radio show, which I asked you, which of course I was always going to do, and you said, in your opinion, for whatever reason, he'd been out of the game. You know, maybe had to go back and do it as Michael Voss had done, and all that sort of stuff, which was absolutely reasonable. Now you're saying there are other people have rung you, not more than one, to campaign on behalf of James. Can they intimate that from you? And how strong was your conversations with those people in terms of your non-support for him? Was it just, I've had what I've had to say on radio, and that's where it stands, or was it stronger than that?
No, that wasn't stronger than that. It was just, I think this is the right thing to do. Essendon have embarked upon this process. I believe that that's what they were doing. They already had that committee established that was going to be the interview process that prospective coaches were going to go through. They wanted somebody with experience. I thought there were a number of candidates out there that had experience that were worth making sure that they interviewed. Brent Scott was one of those. In fact, my opinion was that he was outside Al Clarkson. I thought he was the next best option for Essendon to approach.
You got a, and I'm being serious here, you've got there's massive weight behind what you say in relation to this football club. Are you aware and cognizant of how much
No, I'm not.
you can influence people's opinions?
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Well, there's
Because
there's a naivety.
well,
there's
maybe
a naivety to that.
Well, maybe there is, but you lose track of that because when you do radio like you and I do, and we have been doing it for 5 mornings a week for 3 hours a day, and then now we're doing it for 3 mornings a week for 3 hours a day.
For 5 hours.
You lose track of what you're saying sometimes, and whether or not I don't ever think, okay, I'm about to say something. This is going to have enormous influence on the Essendon Football Club. I'm always
don't.
No, I'm cognizant of criticism that I level at the club and how I might articulate that. But I'm not thinking, because I'm saying it, this is what people are now going to believe, or this is going to influence any decision making that may be taking place.
Right. Well, I would say that's there's a great level of naivety to that for someone who's been in the industry for as long as you have, and with the position that you hold unofficially within that footy club.
Yeah, but that's how you see yourself.
Yeah, I know, and you don't want to be like, it's the same with me, but I'm aware, and I don't profess to have any influence at the footy club that I played for, but I'm aware of what I say will resonate because people want to beat it up or they want to turn into what it is.
No, I'm aware of the fact that what I say might get reported, but I don't think that I'm influential in making people change their minds about what they might think because it's me saying it.
How can you think that?
Well, that's the way I think.
Well, you're a 307.
Yeah, but we're past players. We're just people that pass through the corridors of our football club and represent our football club for a period of time. We do hold media positions now, and people may be interested in what we've got to say about our old club, but I don't. If you're asking me, do I think what I say shifts the needle and influences people into the decision making? I don't.
Right. Do you think Essendon need to move past their want to go back to the past?
Yeah, they do.
Is that a huge issue for them? Like
I think
the hero in this instance, we're talking about James, or whether it was Sheeds or Simon Madden, whoever it was, they'll come back and fix the joint. Is there still that mentality there?
I think there was in the lead up to possibly the decision that they were going to make by Kevin and others around the club. I think there was that, like people talking about, we just need to get Essendon people back. And my answer to that was always, no, you don't. You need to always be conscious of the history and the culture of your football club and those that represent your football club. But you always need to make the best decisions for your football club going forward. And they may include Essendon people, but they may not include Essendon people. If you go back and look at the last successful period that Essendon had, it was getting Kevin Sheedy, a former Richmond person, into the football club. Yeah. And he changed the football club. Yeah. For 27 years he was the coach.
Yeah. So you think they've got it right then? Do you think they're as well positioned right now? Kevin's still on the board, Kevin Sheedy, obviously, who actually, how's that going to work? So Kevin is your footy director, or I don't know what his official title is, but when you talk about influential voices at Essendon over the years, none bigger, who has publicly and strongly and vehemently derided the decision to not appoint James Hird, which by extension is a criticism of the appointment of Brad Scott. How's that work with him on the board and Brad as a coach?
Well, I think he can make it work because if he was that influential, then James Hird would be the coach. So clearly he's not that influential.
It was just one vote.
He's just one vote.
Yeah.
He's one vote on the board. So, and you know what it's like. Like there's no problem having people with different views on a board. I mean, it's a good, healthy thing to have that argy-bargy and that debate and that robust discussion around things. But clearly he's not the most influential person on the board. I think probably there's been discussions around what he should and shouldn't say publicly because he doesn't represent necessarily, his own views aren't necessarily representative of the Essendon Football Club's board, so he needs to be understanding about
But
that.
the outside reporting of it
Will always go that way.
always says that it
Yeah,
is.
that's right.
And
That's right.
Therein
Yeah.
lies
There is a problem there that
one of the
they
challenges.
they may have to address again at some point in time.
So you fully expect to see James. So we'll just to put a bow on this
Yeah.
because we're not going to keep talking about Essendon and footy forever on this podcast. But you and he, contrary to perhaps what's been reported, in your own mind anyway, are fine, and you expect to cross paths at some stage for this reunion.
100%. And look, I read somewhere where, like this was sort of like a nail in the coffin of his relationship with the Essendon Football Club or whatever. Now, he may have been promised something. I don't know what he was promised by David Barham, right? But if he has, I would say to James, if he has a beef, it's with a person. That person is not the Essendon Football Club. The Essendon Football Club, for him, really should be his family history with the Essendon Football Club. His grandfather was the president of the Essendon Football Club, his own playing career, all the players he played alongside, the premiership of 1993 that he played in, all the people that he made friends with and was an associate with during that period of time, and then right up until 2000 when he was the premiership captain of that group of players as well. That's the Essendon Football Club. That would be the Essendon Football Club for him that he needs to remain connected to. So I would hope that he's forever part of the celebration of our 1993, forever part of the 2000, and remains one of the most revered figures that has ever passed through the corridors of the Essendon Football Club.